We need to talk because while most of us were scrolling our feeds, maybe checking fantasy football scores, the single biggest financial shift in modern history just happened, and almost nobody noticed.
Ah, they absolutely missed it. And the real betrayal here isn't just the news itself, it's how it happened. This wasn't some big primetime announcement. This was the sound of $7 trillion being quietly moved, redirected, all
Uh,
buried in the fine print of the 2026 federal spending plan. It was a legislative stealth bomb.
$7 trillion. I
Well,
want that number to land. Not million, not billion, trillion. This isn't just another budget story. The research shows this move under the current administration sets off one of two really extreme outcomes.
that's the critical point. There's no middle ground here. This creates either the biggest explosion of wealth we've seen since, what, the dot-com boom in the 90s, or it financially strands millions of people who just aren't prepared for it. A soft landing is impossible when you move capital on this scale.
And we know exactly where that money is going. The plan lays it out. It identifies five very specific high-stakes industries that just got handed what some analysts are calling unlimited fuel. We're talking artificial intelligence, we're talking rare earth metals, a huge resurgence in American manufacturing, a massive expansion of defense and border security, and the one thing that powers it all, energy.
And if you just zoom out for a second, you see what it really is. It's a technological Cold War. It's formalized, it's backed by policy, and yeah, your tax dollars are funding the whole thing. The government is literally picking the winners for the next 20 years.
This isn't a budget, it's a blueprint, it's a roadmap, and it has already kicked off a full-blown AI gold rush. The smart money isn't waiting around for the headlines, they're already moving. Stay with us as we expose the full truth right here on The Deep Dive. If you want the news they don't want you to hear, hit that subscribe button right now.
So the foundational shift, the thing you really have to grasp, is this. The U.S. government has effectively replaced Wall Street. It's replaced Silicon Valley. Washington is now the primary engine driving the American economy, period.
That's a staggering thing to say. I mean, for decades, the whole idea was that the private sector did that. You know, the venture capitalists, the startup guys. They decided what was next. Now you're saying it's DC cutting the checks and setting the agenda. That changes everything.
It changes who holds the power completely. And that's why we have to keep coming back to the number. 7 trillion. That isn't a theoretical figure, it's transformative. That kind of capital does three things at once. It reshapes entire industries overnight, it shifts global alliances, and, most importantly for you listening, it will create a brand new class of millionaires. And at the same time, it's guaranteed to leave a whole lot of people behind. Wealth doesn't just vanish in a shift like this, it moves violently.
Okay, but how is this justified? Is it just a presidential priority? Or is there a formal strategy behind this?
Oh, it's entirely formal. The sources point to a specific declaration from the administration. It's called Winning the Race America's AI Action Plan. And that wasn't just a speech. It's a funded legal mandate, a declaration that the U.S. will dominate the AI era, and it will spend whatever it takes to make that happen. Debt levels don't even seem to be part of the conversation.
Wait, hold on. I have to jump in here. You're saying the government is moving fast with $7 trillion. I mean, how is that possible? This is the federal bureaucracy we're talking about. They take 10 years to build a bridge. How is this any different?
That's the crucial question, and the difference is the mechanism. It's a mandate, not a suggestion. See, VC money is fast, but it doesn't have scale. Government money is slow until it isn't. Once the laws are in place, the scale is, well, essentially unlimited. And this plan funds the foundations directly. It just sidesteps that whole VC cycle.
So it's not about funding the next TikTok. It's more like funding the digital version of 19th century nation building.
Precisely. That is the perfect analogy, and the sources are very clear on this. The money isn't for cool apps. It's for hard infrastructure. The new railroads, they're fiber optic cables. The new oil fields are these huge clusters of GPUs, the processing units. And the new gold that everyone's scrambling for is just raw processing power. Compute, this is physical stuff. Digital infrastructure, sure, but physical. And it's backed by law.
So it's like the 1800s, when the government decided to build the Transcontinental Railroad. History shows that when Washington decides it's going to win something, and they put federal money behind it, they usually do. Their resources are just bottomless.
And that commitment creates a demand explosion that private money could never sustain. I mean, think about it. Every time you ask ChatGPT a question, every time a business automates a task, every terabyte of data that an AI ingests, It just explodes the need for three things. You need more chips, you need bigger data centers to hold them, and you need a truly insane amount of power to run and cool it all.
And that demand never stops. It's
Yeah.
not a factory that closes on weekends. It's 24/7. It's astronomical. So the smart money right now, they're not looking for the next startup on Sand Hill Road. They're looking for, I don't know, the next Intel factory site or the company that builds the cooling systems for these things.
Exactly. They are positioning themselves right where that $7 trillion river begins to flow, because that flow is guaranteed by the federal government for at least the next decade. It basically turns a high-risk Silicon Valley bet into a low-risk American infrastructure project. The smart money always moves upstream.
Which gets us to the really uncomfortable truth here. Money doesn't disappear, it just moves. So if this river of cash is flowing, where are the on-ramps for a regular person who's paying attention? Where's the map?
The map is the spending plan itself. It's not just a budget, it's a roadmap. It details exactly who is getting this federal capital. And it breaks down into what we're calling the 5 explosive sectors. These are the on-ramps for wealth because it's where government-mandated demand meets the need for real physical stuff.
Okay, so let's start with the heart of it, the engine that makes it all run.
That would be AI and compute infrastructure. This is the foundation. Data centers, GPUs, the chip fabrication plants, all the cloud power needed to run this new economy. When we say $7 trillion to win the AI race, most of that money is going right here into building the physical brain of the system. We're talking massive new chip fabs. We're talking about becoming totally self-sufficient in chip production. The scale is just, it's mind-boggling.
But those chips, they're not made of air. They need very specific, very physical materials, which leads right to the second sector, doesn't it? Rare earths and critical minerals.
Absolutely essential. The sources name them specifically, things like neodymium and dysprosium. These aren't just words on a periodic table. You can't build advanced AI or new fighter jets or high-output EV batteries without them. And for decades, the U.S. was almost entirely dependent on China for these, which gave Beijing, well, it gave them huge leverage over our entire tech future.
And so the government's response with this mandate is
To become self-sufficient, fast. It means fast-tracking domestic mines. It means building refineries here in the U.S., which is messy and difficult, but strategically necessary. And it means locking down supply chains with allies like Australia and Canada. It's a deliberate, strategic de-risking of the whole system.
And that desire for domestic control, it flows right into the third sector, this idea of bringing American manufacturing back home.
That's right, U.S. manufacturing reshoring. You combine the new tariffs with these strategic commitments. The source mentions Japan is committing billions to build factories on U.S. soil. You're forcing production to come home. And this isn't small-scale stuff. We're talking huge, automated mega factories.
Yeah.
Industrial parks that have been empty for decades are suddenly prime real estate.
Okay, so that's the economic engine. But then you've got the two sectors that sort of protect it all. The fourth big one, defense, border security, and what they call the deportation industry.
Yeah, and look, regardless of anyone's personal politics on border policy, the fact is that this sector is seeing a massive, mandated flood of federal money. The plan includes the largest defense budget in U.S. history, but it's also paired with huge, long-term funding for border infrastructure, new detention facilities, and expanded logistics for ICE and Border Patrol. It's the infrastructure of security, which they see as essential to protect the tech and manufacturing assets we're building.
And then number 5, the one thing that everything we just talked about absolutely cannot function without, the universal bottleneck, energy, and specifically nuclear reinforcement.
This part is so critical because AI, as one source put it, eats power like a monster. A single big data center can use the same amount of power as a small city, a city that never sleeps and demands perfect, uninterrupted power 24/7. You can't run the future on intermittent sources. So the spending plan is aggressively pushing nuclear energy, especially these new small modular reactors and natural gas. They're seen as the only things that can reliably feed this insatiable demand.
Okay, so we have the 5 categories, but here's the part that feels counterintuitive. The real money isn't going to the person who makes a cool AI app. It's going to the people who enable the whole system, the whole selling shovels in a gold rush thing.
It's the ultimate shovel seller logic. But for the 21st century, during the gold rush, the richest people weren't the ones digging for gold. They were the ones selling the picks, the shovels, the Levi's jeans. In the AI gold rush, the shovel sellers are the ones who power it, who build it, who cool it, who transport it, and who secure it. Their risk is lower, and their margins are higher than the software guys.
So who are they? In concrete terms, who are these modern shovel sellers?
You have to look at the specialized supply chain. So obviously the chip fabs themselves, but also the obscure companies that supply the specialized gases and materials for those fabs.
Mm.
You're talking about the companies that have mastered liquid cooling for these new high-density chips. You're talking about the uranium miners who are digging up the fuel for the new nuclear plants, the huge contractors expanding the grid, the people installing fiber optic cables, the companies building the substations. It's all the boring foundational physical stuff.
Okay, and this is where it gets tactical for people listening. The research actually mentioned specific market sectors like financial indexes that are proxies for these shovel sellers.
Yes, absolutely. So when we talk about positioning yourself where the capital is flowing, you can look at these indexes. First, there's SOCKS, which represents the semiconductor sector,
Mhm.
your NVIDIAs, your Intels, the brains. Second, NLR, that's the index for nuclear and uranium, the fuel.
Got it. Brains and fuel. What about getting the power from the plant to the data center?
That would be XLU. The utilities and power provider sector, they own the transmission lines. Their demand is now basically guaranteed by AI. Then you have DTCR, which is all about data center infrastructure, the companies that build and own the physical server farms. And finally, PAVE, the Infrastructure Build-Out Index. That covers all the physical construction, the roads, the factories, the power lines themselves.
So this isn't just generic investment advice. This is literally a map of where the government is directing capital to physically rebuild the country. It's not just about revenue for these companies. It's about creating dynastic wealth because the demand is guaranteed by law.
That is the absolute key takeaway. The money flows upstream to the foundation. The people who will see generational wealth from this aren't selling an app. They're the ones standing where the guaranteed capital begins to flow. Infrastructure, utilities, materials. AI will make some creators rich, sure. But this kind of federal infrastructure spending, that's what creates dynasties.
All right, so we've laid out this staggering opportunity, the $7 trillion roadmap, the shovel sellers. But anytime you force an expansion this fast, you create huge problems, huge threats. We have to talk about the crisis this is creating.
And the most urgent physical crisis is the power grid itself. It's already cracking under the strain.
The cracking power grid. Yeah,
Yeah.
sources had this terrifying comparison. Every one of these new data centers uses as much electricity as tens of thousands of homes. They're basically small cities that consume power 24/7 and never, ever turn off.
And here's the real acceleration problem. We're building these data centers way faster than we can possibly build out the grid to feed them. You can't just build a new power plant overnight. You can't just expand transmission lines in a week. The analogy someone used was perfect. It's like bolting a rocket engine to a lawnmower. It's going to tear itself apart.
So what does that look like in the real world? When demand just completely outruns supply on that scale, this is more than just a brownout on a hot day.
The consequences are immediate and brutal. We are talking about widespread rolling blackouts, not just for homes, but for businesses, for factories. We're talking about down digital infrastructure, AI systems just freezing. We're building the world's most advanced digital brain, but we're at serious risk of not being able to feed it enough electricity to keep it running.
And then you get the economic impact. You've got industry, homes, a growing fleet of EVs, the new factories, and these giant AI clusters, all competing for the same kilowatt of power.
Price spikes are inevitable, and they'll be dramatic. Access to reliable power stops being a given and starts becoming a very expensive privilege. This is why the federal plan is so hyper-focused on nuclear and natural gas. They see this crisis coming, and they know renewables alone can't solve it. The grid stability is an existential threat to the whole plan.
Okay, that's the immediate physical threat. But there's a social threat, too. One that hits a lot closer to home for most people. The labor reset. The shrinking of the human payroll.
This is where most people are going to feel the pain long before they see any opportunity. It's a very simple and very painful equation. As AI gets more capable, the need for human workers to do repetitive tasks just shrinks. We're in the middle of a quiet squeeze on the middle class right now.
And the sources were specific about the jobs being hit today, not in 5 years. Today.
It's already happening in white-collar jobs. Think about junior lawyers drafting standard contracts, and AI can do that now, faster and cheaper. Accounting firms are using it for reconciliations. Junior marketing staff are being replaced by people who are just really good at writing prompts for an AI to generate copy. Even entry-level coding, data entry. It's all being automated.
And the betrayal here is the speed. I think millions of people thought this was a blue-collar problem, a factory problem, something that was years away.
They did. But one source said it perfectly. The future already clocked in.
Yeah.
This isn't a gradual shift anymore. It's a reset. And it's hitting that administrative middle management class the hardest.
Wait, hold on. This feels like it goes deeper than just efficiency. Are you saying that executives are actually choosing to invest in an AI system because it doesn't ask for a raise, or sick days, or health insurance? That's the cold hard math of it, isn't it?
That is the cold, hard logic of the C-suite, yes.
Mm-hmm.
An AI subscription is predictable. It's scalable. It works 20/47. From a purely financial perspective, it's a very attractive alternative to rising labor costs. And the consequence is millions of people are finding their skills are suddenly devalued. They're competing against software that gets smarter every day and cheaper to run, all fueled by this $7 trillion mandate.
So the jobs themselves don't all disappear, but they change. What's the dividing line between the person who becomes obsolete and the person who thrives?
The shift is radical. You stop doing the work, and you start managing the systems that do the work. The division will be razor sharp. It's between those who adapt and learn these new tools and those who wait. The central question for the next decade isn't if AI will take jobs, it's who will successfully make the transition to managing the systems that are replacing them.
We've been focused on what's happening inside the U.S., but this isn't happening in a vacuum. This whole $7 trillion plan is designed to just shatter the global power dynamic. Let's talk about geopolitics.
The China flip is probably the most aggressive part of this entire strategy. I mean, for 40 years, the whole global system was built on American dependency on China. China supplied the minerals, they did the assembly, they sent us cheap goods, we consumed. That was the deal.
And that gave Beijing huge economic leverage, especially over our tech sector.
Exactly. But this $7 trillion shift is designed to flip that script completely. The mandate is for rapid American independence. So we're fast-tracking domestic mines, we're building refineries here at home. And we're signing strategic alliances with places like Australia and Japan to create a supply chain that deliberately excludes China.
And China has to see this coming. How are they reacting to this push for U.S. independence?
They're scrambling. You can see the panic in their actions. They're putting sudden export quotas on critical minerals. They're trying to disrupt our supply lines. There are rumors of retaliatory chip bans. They're not just trying to compete anymore. They're trying to actively slow the U.S. down. Because if America becomes self-sufficient in chips and energy and minerals, China loses its primary leverage on the world stage.
This really does sound less like a trade dispute and more like an economic war.
It's rapidly escalating into one, and that could easily spill over into a tech war over intellectual property, or even a cyber war targeting our power grids and these new chip fabs. Transitions of power like this, from dependency to dominance, they're never smooth. They're always disruptive. But for the people on the right side of that disruption, there's always massive opportunity.
Okay, let's connect this huge digital geopolitical story back to something tangible, something physical, the real estate revolution.
Right. We talk about the cloud, but the cloud lives on land, data centers, chip factories.
Yeah.
They have a huge, very specific physical footprint. They need land, they need power, they need fiber.
And the federal government is getting directly involved in providing that land, right?
Oh, absolutely. For months, they've been opening up millions of acres of federal land, selling it or leasing it for exactly this, for tech hubs, for new factories. You're seeing huge tracts of land in Texas, Arizona, Nevada being rezoned and prepped for these mega projects.
So you get these new AI boom towns. It really is like the railroad expansion all over again.
It's the perfect modern analogy. In the 1800s, if the railroad came to your town, you boomed. If it passed you by, you faded away. Today, the new railroad tracks are the high-capacity power lines and the fiber corridors. The new boom towns are popping up wherever a new chip fab or a massive data center campus lands. Proximity to a power substation is the new beachfront property.
So the sleeper winners here aren't the software guys. It's the people who own the physical land and buildings that this whole revolution needs.
Precisely. We're talking about specialized real estate investment trusts, or REITs, that only own data centers. We're talking about the firms that manage these huge industrial parks being built near these new tech hubs. Investing is shifting to where America is physically rebuilding. Money follows construction. It always has. This is a chance to own a piece of the physical future.
So let's put all this together. The $7 trillion, the 5 sectors, the grid crisis, the global power shift. Put this moment into historical context for us, because it just feels bigger.
It is bigger. This is the fourth and by far the largest wealth wave in recent memory. You can map them out. 1999 was the first .com internet wave that was all hype. 2010 was the second wave, social media and mobile apps fueled by venture capital. 2020 was the third, with crypto and software driven by super low interest rates.
And this wave, 2025 and beyond, this is different. What makes this one so different?
The fuel source. The previous waves were speculative. This wave is fueled by trillions in guaranteed government spending on hard, physical infrastructure, factories, power grids, land, chip fabs. This has a scale that venture capital can't even dream of. Smart investors aren't just reading headlines, they're reading policy documents.
And that timeline is critical. You said government money moves slow and then all at once. Where are we on that timeline?
We are right at the beginning of the all-at-once phase. The laws are passed, the money is allocated, the contracts are being signed. The people who understand this flow of capital now, who learn the AI tools, who position themselves to own a piece of this foundational infrastructure, they are stepping into generational wealth territory. People will look back at this exact moment in a few years and say, I wish I had seen it sooner. You're not late, you're early. But that window is closing fast.
Let's bring this down from the trillion-dollar level to the human level. What does this future actually look like? Because it feels like it's creating this huge, unbridgeable divide, two Americas living side by side.
It creates two totally different realities. In one America, the automated America, your world shrinks. You're competing with AI systems that work cheaper and faster than you can. You're looking at stagnant wages, sudden layoffs. Your whole career path might just disappear. And you'll blame the system, but the system isn't collapsing. It's just evolving ruthlessly away from expensive human labor.
And the other America, the smaller group.
The other America. They'll own the tools that are replacing everyone else. They will own stakes in the data centers, the utilities, the chip fabs, the industrial land. They won't be talking about layoffs. They'll be talking about dividend yields and asset appreciation. They'll be the new owner class.
So the dividing line isn't just rich versus poor anymore. It's something deeper.
The divide is now razor sharp. It's owners versus workers. It's producers versus consumers. And that fork in the road is forming right now, today, because of this massive redirection of capital. The gap between those who prepare for this transition and those who just wait, it's going to become insurmountable and very quickly. The only difference is preparation.
So the call to action for everyone listening isn't about trying to predict the future. It's about understanding where the money is moving and where the shovels are being sold. It's about taking action.
Absolutely. This is a complete economic reset. A new economy is being built, financed by Washington, on hard infrastructure. And just like every revolution in history, the people who move first, who understand the flow of capital, they get the biggest rewards. You have to commit, learn the new systems, build skills that complement AI, not compete with it, and position yourself to own a piece of the infrastructure. The people who get ahead in times like these aren't lucky. They're just prepared. The world just changed. Quietly, quickly, and permanently. And 10 years from now, you'll look back at this moment and you'll say one of two things. I wish I had moved sooner, or thank God I moved when I did.
That's the reality we're facing, the new economic landscape. But I want to know what you think. Are you focusing on becoming an owner of this new system, or are you prioritizing adapting your skills to just manage it? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. We read every single one. I'm Alex.
I'm Sophia. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.